The Italian government doesn't say that these two Marines has not to be judged, because in Italy there is the Italian court has opened a case against the two Marines, so it is not something that they are going back to work or to enjoy or to go in holiday. They will be judged also in Italy.
The Italian government has clearly violated their affidavit which they have given in the Supreme Court, and the Prime Minister has assured us that through the External Affairs Ministry, through diplomatic channels, whatever is possible to bring them to justice will be done.
We have the External Affairs Minister, Mr. Salman Khurshid, with us. Mr. Khurshid, the BJP is already calling you a soft state. This comes as a huge embarrassment for the government, doesn't it? Though the Prime Minister says it's unacceptable.
I've said very clearly we will examine the papers that have come to us. The Legal and Treaties Division is examining it. We will only be able to say to you something once we've examined the papers.
But will you be speaking to the Italian government on this issue?
We will be able to tell you all this once we've examined the papers.
But Salmanji, the point also is that there was an MEA note, and that's the allegation which is being made. There was an MEA note. Couldn't the government have intervened and given an advisory to the Supreme Court and not to let those Marines go? Because that was the strongest case you really had against them.
We should trust the Supreme Court in its decisions. We shouldn't appeal over the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court take a final view.
What's the road ahead from here now? What's the road ahead from here now, Salmanji? After this, what's the next step?
If we have to examine, after examination, we will let you know.
The opposition was united to demand that the Italian Marines issue should be raised in the Parliament. They are culprits, they are the murderers of two Indian fishermen, and they have insulted the Supreme Court of India. This is not acceptable to us, and we will not allow government to get away with this kind of a criminal conspiracy with the Italian government.
The Prime Minister has described Italy's action as unacceptable. External Affairs Minister Salman Khurshid has said the Italian government is answerable to the Indian Supreme Court. These are tough words from the Indian government, but the question is what substantive action will it take now against the Italian government? For starters, we're being told that diplomats in the Indian Foreign Ministry who are experts in international law, in the law on seas which the Italian government has invoked, and indeed on laws that govern Italy-India ties are currently poring over the Italian government's submission. The Italian government has of course argued that it's India that has violated international law. So they are looking at the case that the Italian government is making legally, and they will then consult with the Attorney General of India and if needed with the Law Ministry to come up with some comprehensive advice to the centre. Only after that advice is given can the centre be expected to take a decision one way or the other. But it's almost certain now that India is going to challenge this decision of the Italian government legally.
We've been speaking to experts. Marine law expert Sanjay Hegde says that this is certainly an embarrassment for the government.
It is an embarrassment for the government, but the Supreme Court has an undertaking. Now it is a question as to how that undertaking will be best enforced by the Supreme Court. Embarrassments to the government are one thing. The undertaking which was given to the Supreme Court solemnly has to be enforced.
But Mr. Hegde, the undertaking was given by the ambassador of Italy, who is the representative of Italian government in India. Now how do we proceed against him, considering that he is going back on his word?
Ambassadors have diplomatic immunity, but there are several ways to enforce the undertaking in either out of court or otherwise, and the Indian government will no doubt advise the Supreme Court as to how best it can help in enforcing such an undertaking.